Hi friends, and welcome to another video. For today, we are going to be looking into another witchcraft-related urban legend about a woman who is said to have been a witch who made all of these prophecies that, when you look at them closely, bear a lot of resemblance to events that have happened within the past. Ursula Soothtel was born in 1488. And legend goes that she was born during a violent thunderstorm inside of a cave off the banks of the River Nid. The midwife who was assisting the mother was said to have heard strange and terrible noises, as well as the smell of brimstone the moment Ursula was born. Her mother Agatha was only 15 years old when she gave birth to Ursula, and never told a soul who Ursula's father was, though some were speculating that her father was actually the devil himself. Sadly, Agatha didn't have any family or friends to support her with her newborn child, so she raised Ursula inside of that cave near the river for 2 whole years before a local family took pity on her and took Ursula to raise in their care, while Agatha was taken to a nunnery very far from the area, and Agatha never saw Ursula again. So Ursula grew up in a town called Knareborough in North Yorkshire, England, and if you were to ask any of the locals what they thought about little Ursula, they would probably tell you that she was a little odd. Strange things were said to have occurred in the house of her foster mother, where furniture would mysteriously be rearranged one day, plates were said to fly around the room, and even the food off of the plates of dinner guests was said to sometimes disappear. Ursula had an unusually large and crooked nose, a curved spine, and her legs were born twisted. She was teased by the other children, and eventually she just decided that it was better if she just hung out by herself. And for the majority of her free time, she spent it down by the cave where she had been born. Ursula developed an affinity for the forest and all sorts of plant life, studying it, learning its properties and benefits, eventually going on to learn how to combine these herbs together in order to make remedies and potions with them. When she was 24 years old, Ursula met a young man named Tobias Shipton, who was a carpenter from York, and the two would fall in love and later get married. Sadly, only a couple years later, Tobias would pass away before the two of them could have any children, but in honor of him, Ursula kept his last name and would remain as Ursula Shipton, though later on in her life, she became known as Mother Shipton due to how much she would help people around her with these psychic occurrences that she was said to have. Now, the strange thing about Ursula was that all throughout her life she would foretell these prophecies, leading some to believe she was a witch, and she would write these prophecies she would psychically receive in the form of poems. And what's interesting is that her prophecies would discuss modern events, such as saying that one day there would be these huge boats made of iron that wouldn't sink in the ocean, and that one day there would be a carriage without a horse, meaning a car, and also saying that the world would end in 1881, which it obviously didn't, but apparently this scared quite a number of people, such as it did in 2012 when the world was supposed to end. You know, I remember that day in 2012, I was sitting in the basement on my couch thinking, is this actually going to happen? It was terrifying because we all knew that the world wasn't actually going to end, that it wasn't showing any signs that it was going to. And I don't know about anybody else, but for me, there was that little inkling of doubt in there being like, what if the world just like spontaneously combusts right as the clock strikes midnight? And then it didn't, and people just went on with their lives, which is what I'm guessing happened in this instance in 1881 when Mother Shipton proclaimed that the world was going to end. But that prophecy was later debunked by the author whose book her apparent prophecy appeared in, came forward and admitted that he'd made it up. But she was also said to have predicted the year when the bubonic plague would strike in London in 1665, as well as the Great Fire of London in 1666, and the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588. She even predicted her own death, which happened in 1561. In addition to these bigger prophecies, Mother Shipton would help people day to day by telling people their futures, and she became well known throughout England for her abilities. So most people know that the tale of Mother Shipton is likely nothing more than that, and that her prophecies were only written down and published in books long after her death, with the first book about her coming out in 1684, almost 80 years after she'd already passed away. But she did become quite famous throughout the UK, Australia, and North America during the 17th, 18th, and 19th century. There was a reference to a witch of York in a letter written by King Henry VIII, which some people think could be the source of the legend of Mother Shipton, as during this time prophecies were often used for political reasons, such as uprisings against the monarchy. And there are a ton more prophecies that Mother Shipton was said to have written in a long poem format. It's very long, but I will read some of the verses to you, with some of them talking about the prophecies that I told you about earlier. A carriage without horse shall go, disasters fill the world with woe. Around the world men's thoughts shall fly, quick as the twinkling of an eye. Beneath the waters men shall walk, shall ride, shall sleep, and even talk. And in the air men shall be seen, in white and black and even green. A great man shall then come and go, for prophecy declares it so. In water and iron then shall float, as easy as a wooden boat. A war will follow with the work, where dwells the pagan and the Turk. The states will lock in fiercest strife, and seek to take each other's life. When north shall thus divide south, the eagle build in lion's mouth. Then when fiercest fight is done, England and France shall be as one. The British olive next shall twine in marriage with the German vine. For in the wondrous far-off days, the women shall adopt a craze to dress like men and trousers wear, and cut off their lovely locks of hair. They'll ride astride with a brazen brow, as witches on a broomstick now. Then love shall die and marriage cease, and nations wane as births decrease. In 1926, build houses light of straw and sticks. When boats like fishes swim the sea, when men like birds shall score the sky, then half the world blood-drenched shall die. Flee to the mountains and the dens, to bog and forest and wild fens. For storms shall rage and oceans roar, when Gabriel stands on sea and shore. And when he blows his horn, old worlds shall die and new be born. So I'm not 100% sure what all of that could be in relation to, but it sounds like she's talking about submarines, airplanes, some sort of messaging system. Like, it's all kind of eerie in my opinion. The cave where Mother Shipton was said to have been born in South Yorkshire, is open for visitors to come and take a look, and has become quite a popular tourist attraction. A bunch of pubs in England were named after her throughout the years, but only a few remain to this day, with one in her hometown of Knareborough and another in Portsmouth, where there's a life-size statue of her above the door. And there's actually even a moth named after her called the Mother Shipton moth, as each wing of the moth looks sort of like a hag's head from the side. So I would definitely love to know what you guys think about the prophecies. I'll link below the website where I found the poem, so if you want to look at the full thing, you can. Like I said, it's very long, but obviously there is no real proof saying that she wrote it specifically with these prophecies that she was said to have had. It very well could all be made up, it probably is, but if she did in fact exist and wrote out these prophecies, it is definitely very jarring, especially the ones about how essentially the world is going to end and a new one be born. So that's a little eerie, but so that is it for today's video. If you guys are new to my channel, please give this video a like and click subscribe if you have not already. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.